PSG versus Real Madrid. Anticipations were high and expectations were inexplicable. However, the game was heavily one-sided. Let us take a look at what exactly happened between these two giants, PSG being the blue and Real Madrid being the red. PSG approached the game in a 4-3-3 shape, just line Real Madrid's shape, and early on we would see both teams looking deadly and fluent in attacking each other's defenses. But not long into the game we would see the game tilt in the favor of PSG. Real Madrid's Raul Asensio and Rudiger mad to individual errors that lead to PSG being 2 goals to the good. It seemed as though Real Madrid struggled to bounce back into the game, as after this they would look inactive at times and disjointed. But this, however, does not mean that PSG were not tactically superior in the game. PSG looked to build up with a back line of 3 players and would have 2 players in front of this back 3. Whenever Nuno Mendes would push upfield, he would leave space open in his position, so we would oftentimes see Vitinho or Fabian Ruiz drop into this space. The benefits of this is that PSG would have a player who would be a technically more advanced player playing deep, giving the team better passing quality and passing range, as being deep, the player occupying this position would be free from intense pressure from Real Madrid because they did not look to press high up for most of the game. PSG would then attack mostly out wide, preferably because they had Dembele playing as a false 9, so he would be able to float and add attacking numbers anywhere on the pitch. This added to the brilliant attacking threat PSG had out wide, as the Tram's deadliest attackers played out wide and were assisted by the fullbacks who would either invert or overlap. As a result, PSG's best chances stem from wide areas. This was also not helped by the fact that Madrid would look to push up both Valverde and Fran Garcia and have Tchouaméni drop into the back line. Theoretically, this was supposed to work out, as Tchouaméni is a good defensive profile, and he would be aided by Rudiger and Raul Asensio. However, whenever Real Madrid were in possession high upfield, they would play a very high line and some of the defensive players would find themselves out of possession, leaving large space in behind for PSG to exploit. To make things worse, Real Madrid would be disjointed at this point, having wrong players in wrong positions. As a result, they would have a poor rest defense, and this particular error lead to PSG creating good chances. In possession, Madrid were struggling, especially whenever PSG looked to counter-press high up the field. They would close off passing lanes and effectively force Real Madrid into committing errors on the ball. Madrid looked to exploit the space in behind PSG through direct runs into space or long balls forward. But this did not work out, as PSG had a really good rest defense, and whenever they were bypassed, the PSG players were more than happy to track back and win possession. Madrid would then look to play possession football, as PSG would at times sit off from the press and or have reduced intensity, especially in the second half. And through this, Madrid were able to create decent chances, but were overall struggling to bypass PSG's low defensive shape. PSG versus Real Madrid was a game that turned out more one-sided, defying expectations. Real Madrid committed 2 early mistakes that seemed to set the course of the game from the get-go. However, Real Madrid did also look a bit toothless when attacking. They would struggling to find space in behind and also found it challenging to win 1v1 situations against PSG. However, discrediting PSG would be in, just as they were able to dominate the game and made it seem relatively easy to do so. From an individual perspective and a tactical one, PSG looked the superior team and more than deserved the massive scoreline win.